it's not in Paris. It's a little ways out of Paris because Paris is really hot and really big, and Louis wanted a place where he could be a little bit cooler, and so he goes out of town. Probably the most important part of the Palace of Versailles is what's called the Hall of Mirrors. We're going to talk about the Hall of Mirrors. There's a lot of things that happen in the Hall of Mirrors in the future that become very key events that Treaty of Versailles after World War I happens in the Hall of Mirrors. We're still dealing with the problems that treaty created. So, the kings are going to try to rule with that sense of divine right, that sense of absolutism. Bossuet is a political theorist. He's going to be in France, and he is going to begin to establish the political theory of divine right and absolutism, and that only God could judge a king. It is this line right here where you've got Charles I in his trial saying, you can't judge me, you can't judge me, and then Cromwell chops his head off, but it comes from this particular situation. Now, Louis is limited with his power to some extent. He doesn't have total and complete control. He probably has the most control of anybody else, but he has to deal with religion and the religious dictates, okay? He has to, when he goes to war, he has to deal with other countries in establishing peace, and he doesn't get to dictate that on his own. And economic activity. France doesn't have a national bank. Unlike the Dutch, that has got a national bank that is going to be organizing currency, the French don't have a national bank. And it's going to be a while before they get one. And that's going to have a serious impact on how the currency goes. Louis is going to deal with a lot of wars, okay? And he is going to try to take over the Dutch Republic because they have such an economic foundation and a lot of trade, a lot of financial power. And keep in mind that money is power. And so he's going to do that. He's going to really try to, he wants to create hegemony. And I think that word's up here someplace. Can't find it right at the moment, but hegemony, meaning that he's got total control over all of Europe. He's gonna work toward that particular goal. The Edict of Nantes is going to be a huge move, okay, for him. And the fact that he's going to say, basically, my great-grandfather never really meant for this to be long-term. He just wanted to end the wars of religion. And so he says, Huguenots, you can't be government officers. And again, those are some of your best business people. So in reality, Louis is just hurting himself by doing this because these guys are really very trained. And he's going to end up exiling a great deal of the ministers with this. And these Protestants are going to go to other places and create economic growth someplace else. Because keep in mind, who really supports the scientific innovation? The Protestants? Yes, the Protestants and the Catholics, and it's the Protestants. And so a lot of that innovation disappears with this move of Louis. Louis is going to have the 9 Years' War, which is actually the 7 Years' War, which is actually the French and Indian War. Okay.
What?
You know, okay. You're going to have the War of Spanish Succession. And with the War of Spanish Succession, you're going to basically, Louis is going to try to put his nephew on the throne in Spain. Now, think about that for a minute. Then Louis would control all of France and all of England. I mean, all of France and all of Spain. Would that be a huge piece of territory? Is that something anybody else wants to see happen? No. Okay? So the Treaty of Utrecht is basically going to say, Louis, You can't be in control of both monarchies. France can't. And so that's going to limit his ability. Louis was an incredibly dynamic monarch. And when he died, the monarch's going to be very weakened. Wars cost money. Wars cost money. Wars cost money. Something a lot of people don't seem to understand. They keep saying, oh, well, wars are good for the economy. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're really bad for the overall economy. All right? And what happens is that by the time Louis dies, he's fought so many wars, and he's spent so much money at Versailles that France is economically exhausted. Because the only people who pay taxes are the peasants. The peasants pay the taxes. The peasants pay the taxes. The peasants pay the taxes. Can they afford to pay the taxes? No. No. And so this is going to cause us problems. We're going to move to Louis XV. And Louis XV is going to continue the same actions of Louis XIV. The same mistakes causing things to weaken even farther. Okay, in your table groups, you've got 45 seconds. Go!
He's like, he thinks he can have all the power and do I'm going to say a schoolyard bully.
Or a police officer.
King Louis XIV is like, give me one.
A schoolyard bully because he won't let you swing on his swing and he's going to take your lunch money.
Okay. All right. Somebody got another one. King Louis XIV is like?
That person at a buffet. He's 24.
That person at a buffet.
That was his idea.
Nice. All right. King Louis XIV is like?
One of those little kids who thinks he deserves everything.
Those little kids that just thinks he deserves, he needs everything. Okay, good. So, King Louis is gobbling all kinds of things up because he enjoys it. Now, France is not the only place that's going to try to have absolutism. Okay? There's going to be absolutism in other places. Russia had been controlled by the Mongols. Russia had been controlled by the Mongols. Russia had been controlled by the Mongols. And it's going to be the Russian administrators who are going to be moving the Mongols out. We're going to end up first with Ivan the Terrible. He's a really nice guy. He has some, he's got some issues. Okay? He's got some issues. He is going to marry into the Romanov family later on. And he is going to begin to establish total control. Part of his way to establish total control, guys in the back, is that he creates a secret police. And that secret police is going to find various people who are talking against Ivan. And he's going to put him in jail. He's going to kill him. He's going to eliminate other voices. So, as Louis XIV just creates more nobles to limit voice, well, Ivan, he gets rid of them. Okay? His oldest son was actually the stronger of his sons. Okay? His oldest son had a lot more smarts, was more well organized. He and his oldest son end up getting into a little bit of an argument. The oldest son is basically got a strong personality like his father, and in a fit of rage, Ivan the Terrible accidentally kills his son. There's a lot of information out there that says that he did it on purpose. There's a lot of information out there that says he did it on accident. I think the documents that say he did it on accident are a little bit more credible because of the sources and what they witnessed and how they witnessed it. Unfortunately, that leaves the younger son to take over the second son, and the second son isn't very strong. He's not a strong personality, and when you look at it, I mean, look at the size of Russia. Okay? It's pretty big. You've got to have a really strong personality to be able to deal with controlling that huge of a piece of territory. And that second son is going to end up causing what's referred to as a time of troubles.
Didn't he carry around a stick to beat people with?
So, yeah.
Is that the stick?
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Wait, who is that? Like, which one?
This is Ivan.
Terrible.
It looks pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Someone else
We're going to have secret police in Russia and then in the Soviet Union for a long time. When we get into the dictators, second semester, we're going to have more secret police. So he does it, and it becomes used for the same reason all the time. Okay.
Did he annoy himself by pouring gold coins over his head?
I don't know all of those small details, but I know that there's quite a ceremony of crowning each monarch.
Hey, sister, I already gave a bunch of
Yeah. Listen to Hank. He'll go over some of this. Now, Michael Romanov is not technically in line to be king. He's going to be kind of asked by the nobles to come in and take over because things are a disaster. He's going to also establish a bureaucracy to organize and do everything in the country. Instead of providing that power to the nobles, he's going to send it off to government officials, which then as well kind of limits the power of the nobles. However, the country is still very weak and still very impoverished. And I want you to take a look at the map up here. Do they have the ability to trade and interact with other nations very well?
Yeah. Not really.
Yeah, are they going to have any ports that they can send ships out of that's not frozen over? No. And on their southern border,
China.
yeah, they're up against China. So that interaction with all of Europe is incredibly limited. Okay? And because they don't have that interaction, they don't have the ability to have that innovation and that economic growth that is happening in the rest of Europe. Remember that, remember that, remember that.
One more time.
One more time.
Yeah.
Because they do not have the ability to have that interaction with the rest of Europe, they do not have that innovation that is going to create economic growth. Cody, did you write that down? Can you please do that? You might want to have it there.
Innovation and what?
Economic growth. Okay? The next big one is going to be Peter the Great. And Peter the Great is going to show up on your test. This is definitely one that's going to show up. Peter the Great is going to get figured out. Oh my good glory, we're behind.
St. Petersburg.
And he is going to, basically disguise, so that nobody really knows who he is going to travel throughout Europe, gaining information, gaining different kind of techniques that he can bring back to Russia. And one of the things that he discovers is that He has to have a port. He has to have a port. He has to have a port. He needs to be able to trade. He needs to be able to move products around. And so he is going to work on developing that particular item. He also understands that he's got to do some certain things. One, he's got to limit the boyars. These guys are the nobles. This is another word for nobles. This is another word for nobles. This is another word for nobles. Cody, did you get that? Right here. Another word for nobles. Make sure you get that in your notes, please. And so what he's going to do is he's going to create several different rankings. Who has more power than somebody else, different titles. The other thing that he's going to do is that he's going to really try to westernize, and he's going to do something called the beard tax. And if you want to have a beard, you're going to have to pay a tax. Because he's discovered that most of the people in the rest of Europe, well, they're clean shaven. And so he's trying to westernize in culture and in dress and in physical appearance. He's going to basically take control of the church, which is the Russian Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Russian Orthodox Church. And he's going to make the Russian Orthodox Church basically a part of the government. And so they are kind of ruling together, and that puts him in total control. Very similar to the act of supremacy that Henry VIII did in England when he did the Church of England. Okay? He is also going to create educational institutions. Okay? He's going to create colleges. He's going to say, these people have got to be more technologically developed. There's got to be more learning for reading and writing, because even a lot of the nobles didn't know how to read and write. And so he knew that he had to up the ante there. And then, of course, developing the economy, which becomes the most significant element. He is going to also really work on developing the ability to have those ports. He's going to increase his military. He's going to establish very Western procedures with it. And he's going to go to war with Sweden up here because he's trying to get a port established up here. Now, the problem with this port up here is that it's going to be frozen over. The other thing is that he's going to go to war with the Ottoman Empire down here, because he wants control of this piece of territory right here. And this little piece of territory right here is the Dardanelles. We're going to hear the Dardanelles again and again. And if you recall, they were actually on your geography test at the beginning of the school year. So that Black Sea moving into the Dardanelles, and he's going to accomplish that by taking over a particular part of the Ukraine. He is going to end up getting Estonia, Latvia, and part of Lithuania with Finland, and that's these three right here, okay? Now, I remember where they are based on the alphabet, okay? Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, okay? So, do it by the alphabet. E comes first and L-I is last, okay? This is going to enable him to build a place called St. Petersburg. Now, St. Petersburg is going to be a cold water port. A cold water port. It's only going to be able to be used a certain part of the year. He is going to, this is basically almost kind of like swampland. It's going to have to be all filled in. And he's going to have all of these peasants come and build it. thousands of peasants are gonna die trying to build this dang city. This right here is a picture of the Winter Palace there in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is now St. Petersburg. We're going to go through a time, second semester, where St. Petersburg is going to become a place called Petrograd, and then it'll become a place called Leningrad. And then it'll go back to being called St. Petersburg, which it is today. Depending on the wording of the questions with AP Euro, if they use Petrograd, it's talking about a particular time period, and that can help you eliminate answers. They're talking about Leningrad, that's a different time period. When they talk about St. Petersburg, they're talking about 2 other times. So this Winter Palace is built. Place is huge. I've actually been there. Place is huge. And you spend all kinds of time. It's a museum today. And of course, Peter the Great was trying to create his own Palace of Versailles. Okay? He was trying to create his own Palace of Versailles with this. Habsburgs are in Spain and in Austria. Habsburgs are in Spain and in Austria. The Habsburgs in Spain are going to kind of fall apart. Their power base is going to disappear, and it disappears because of economics. What's the big thing that Spain does that destroys their economy?
Trade with silver.
Yeah, that's silver and gold, and yep, and put it all into their economy. Too much liquidity of gold and silver, and it destroyed their currency. So the Spanish Habsburgs kind of disappear, but we still have the Austrian Habsburgs. Now, the Austrian Habsburgs, yes, he's kind of a funky looking dude, mainly because, well, the Habsburgs think that they need to keep it all within the family. So, the red lines, so you got Philip II, who married his niece. You have Philip IV, who married his niece. So this is Spain, this is Austria, this is Spain, this is Austria. You have these two that are first cousins. The blue is first cousins. The purple is third cousins.
I like how at the top it doesn't look so bad, but it slowly gets worse.
Yeah.
What's the
And
other?
then that intermarriage, well, yeah, it doesn't do so good for the looks. That intermarriage is going to cause a variety of problems. The idea of me marrying my Uncle Tom. Oh. Yuck. I mean, but yeah, here we go. The Habsburgs really felt like by keeping it all in the family, you could say, that they would maintain their bloodline and, of course, then their power. The Habsburgs are going to focus on religion with Catholicism. They're going to lose that with Charles V because we've got that 30 Years' War. We've got the fight with Martin Luther. And we're going to get to Leopold I, who is finally going to gain control of the territory of Hungary and finally end the wars with the Ottoman Empire. And that's going to move the Ottoman Empire just into a territory called the Balkan Peninsula. The Balkan Peninsula is this territory right here. You're dealing with Greece. You're dealing with places like Bosnia and Serbia, which we'll talk about more later on. Nice place. Not, but okay. Then we're going to move into Charles VI. Okay? Charles VI. Yep. Now the only thing you need to remember about Charles VI is this right here. Pragmatic sanction. This is the only thing, this is what you need to remember about Charles VI. Charles VI establishes pragmatic pragmatic sanction because he only has daughters. And basically, pragmatic sanction says, girls can be queen. Cody, did you get that? Good, write it down. So pragmatic sanction, which is going to bring Marie Therese to the throne. Okay? She's going to become queen. There's going to be some wars that are fought because other people are going to think that she is vulnerable, you could say, because she's a woman. Some wars she's going to lose, some wars she's not. Marie Therese is very good as a negotiator. She's very good with diplomacy. She's going to end up making a lot of headway in foreign affairs because of that diplomacy. It is going to be under her reign that we're going to see Poland literally disappear. Because Poland, she will be able to work on that diplomatic relations with Prussia and Russia, so that the three of them, instead of going to war, literally divide Poland between the three of them, and Poland disappears for a time. Okay? Prussia is the largest of the German states. Prussia is the largest of the German states. Prussia is the largest of the German states. And you will have a particular noble family that is by the name of the Hohenzollerns. Okay? Hohenzollerns are going to become royalty. They're going to become the monarch. And they're going to work to gain more and more power. Frederick William is going to try to pull some more of the German states into Prussia to increase the territory and have more control territory-wise. Frederick the First, here we go with all these numbers again. So you've got Frederick William, okay? Then you have Frederick the First, okay? And you're going to get Frederick William the First. But you got to keep in mind that Frederick William is different than Frederick William the First.
Wait, so there's Frederick William, and then there's Frederick William the First?
Yeah, because this guy gets to become king of Prussia, and so this guy is the first king of Prussia because his dad was crowned king, but Grandpa wasn't king, so he was just Frederick William.
So Grandpa and Dad put their names together and made the grandson,
Wow.
like just the names. So like Frederick William, Frederick the First, and Frederick William the First.
There you go. Yeah, okay. If that's what you need to do it, okay?
First,
So Frederick the First is the one that's going to kind of create the whole monarchy kind of situation after his father begins pulling more things together. It is going to be Frederick the First who is going to basically kind of limit a group of people called the Junkers, Junkers. Frederick, this is Frederick the First. He's going to kind of limit the Junkers. The Junkers are the name for the nobles in Prussia. So you got the boyars in Russia, you got the Junkers in Prussia, which is Prussia. Prussia is the foundation of Germany. Prussia is the foundation of Germany. Okay? Later on, we're going to change the name of Prussia into Germany. Okay? So Frederick William is the first. Frederick William the First. He's going to make the army really, really big. Okay? And then we're going to get to. And we're going to get to Frederick the Great.
These people are just not creative.
Why?
Like, do they feel the need, like only a couple names?
Yeah, they're not very creative. You know, they did not have that baby book of names that you can go to Barnes and Noble and get today. They didn't have that.
Well, isn't like Frederick, William, Will.
So Frederick, Henry, Charles,
Edward,
Louis.
Their baby book only has 6 more names.
Yes, yeah, they didn't have very many names. Okay, Charles, so Frederick the army and make Prussia even bigger. And he's going to have some of that control over everything. So, here's what I want you to do. Okay? And in your table groups, I'm going to give you some time to get this done. Those of you who are in band and are going to be headed out the door here in a minute, I'm going to need you to do this on your own or with other band students that are from AP Euro after those who missed the, lecture can get it. How does absolutism look in France? How does absolutism look in Russia? How does absolutism look in Austria? How does absolutism look in Prussia? Use the lecture notes that I've just given you. Use your prep book if you bought one. Okay? Prep book can seriously help there. Use the black book. Mr. Lamb stole several of my black books, so there's enough for one for each table. Use your textbook. Gather as much information as you can about what absolutism looks like in each of these territories. And then, the last few minutes of class, I'm going to ask you to fill out that spectrum sheet that you picked up by the door. Okay? That spectrum sheet that you picked up by the door, going from good to bad. Where do you think absolutism falls? Is it a really good system and is it a really bad system? And then explain to me why you put it where you did. But in order to do that spectrum and have the kind of solid, specific reasons that I need you to have, you need to make sure that you understand what it looks like in each of these countries. So you've got to do this first before you can do the spectrum. Does everybody understand that? Okay. We've got from now until the end of the hour, so let's get moving. Let's go.